You can now access all your Canva Brand Kit assets directly within Affinity. Let's see how this works and how it can be a nice addition to your workflow. Since Canva first acquired Affinity a little over 2 years ago, we've been looking for the ways they might start to integrate these two different software programs. We got the first real integration when they came out with the unified version of Affinity. They made that free for everyone, and within there they had this set of Canva AI tools. Well, now there's a second big integration, which they sort of snuck in there this past week when they went ahead and announced an April Affinity update. And in that April Affinity update, you now have Canva Brand Kits directly inside of Affinity. So any logos, any graphics, any colors you've saved to your brand kit in Canva, you can now use directly here in Affinity. Also, you can upload photos by dragging and dropping up here, and they will sync back to Canva as well. So now we have this two-way communication. So this is another step forward into integration between Canva and Affinity, which might definitely be helpful for you. So let's take a look at how this all works. Let's start over here in Canva. So if you're in Canva, you have this brand tab, and under this brand tab, you have the ability to create different brand kits. Now you're limited if you're a free user to just one brand kit, I believe, and maybe a couple colors and other things. But if you're a pro user, you can really store lots and lots of different brand kits in here. So then you can very easily cycle through these different assets depending on what project, what brand you're working with. And under each of those, you can store things like logos, you can store things like colors, fonts, all sorts of different things, all sorts of assets. Here's sort of a breakdown of the categories. You have brand templates, you have logos, colors, fonts, brand voice, photos, graphics, icons, charts, and then you can even add your own categories if you want to specifically organize other assets. So super helpful when you're working on a Canva project and you want to be able to add something very easily from your brand kit to that project, control the colors, control the fonts, keeping everything on brand. Well, now we have the ability to make use of all of this over in Affinity. So here I am over in Affinity, and I have the beginnings of a recipe book here. So this is the type of project where I'd be setting up some different template pages in here, and then I'd probably be using these to build out even more pages. So it might be very helpful for this type of project to have access to something like my brand kit. So I make sure I make use of my brand fonts, my brand colors, logos, things like that. So how do we turn on brand kits in Affinity? Well, currently I'm under the Layout Studio, but under any of these studios, you can turn on the brand kits panel, and I don't think it's going to show anywhere by default. So I think a lot of people aren't even going to realize this exists until you figure it out. I'm going to show you now how you can turn it on. So I am on Windows, and on Windows, if you go under these three dots, you can come under here under panels, and under here we can find and turn on the Brands Kit panel. So there it is right here. I'm going to turn it off though for a second, and just to say, on Mac, that's going to be a slightly different approach. I think in the Mac user interface right now, you don't get these three dots. I think you have to come under maybe View Studio, something like that. Then you're going to see your panels, then you can turn it on that way. Now there is another way here on Windows to turn it on as well, so I'm not sure if this exists on Mac, but there's probably something like this. You can also come up here and you can go under the window, and then you have this Canva menu item, and under here we have Canva AI items, but we also have Canva Brand Kits, so this is another way I can turn that on. Now, when you first bring up that Brands Kit panel, there is a chance you'll see something like please connect to the internet, a message like that, or you might see something where there's a sign in button at the bottom. You want to make sure that you are connected to that Canva account that has those brand kits you want to use. So there are usually a couple ways you can do this. I could come in here and go under File menu, come down to Account Settings, and that should connect directly to my Canva account and show me the account that I'm working under here, and I can see everything that's connected down here, all the information related to my account. Now, you also could just go to the Canva home menu. So if I click on the Canva home menu here, come down here under Welcome, it might have a sign in button here. If that's the case, you need to sign in. Otherwise, you can come down, you can take again, once again, look at that Canva account settings by clicking on this top button, or switch account if you need to switch to a different account, because you do have to be connected to the Canva account that's making use of those brand kits you want to make use of. And then of course, once you do that, then when you come in here, you go Window, you come Panels, you come under Window, you come under Canva, you come under Canva Brand Kits, then you should get this Brands Kit panel here. So it's kind of stuck up here. Let's see if I can pull this down. Here we go. Let's bring it down. And then of course I can nest this anywhere I want. So this brand kits panel, it should, once you have it set up, properly connected to the proper Canva account, then you should be getting all those brand kits that you have under your brand section in Canva. And so now let me just come back to the layouts panel here. I have it open here. Now, another thing to keep in mind, Affinity has different studios, and so turning a panel on in one studio doesn't turn it on in another studio. But there are ways to manage this, and if you've watched my tutorial on the Canva UI, I can link it up above, but I have lots of things about working with different studios and working with different panel presets. But let me just give you a quick example. So if I was over here in Greg photo editing, this is sort of the default studio I set up, and so at any time here I can come in and make changes to the way the panels are set up, and then if I want to save those changes, I can come in there and create a new preset. So let's just show you an example here. So I have this set up and I have a default version of this studio here, but if I were to come in under my panels here, and let's just turn on this Canva Brand Kits. So there it is. I've turned it on here, and I will bring it down. It sort of gets stuck up in this corner. So you might have this problem too, where occasionally it gets stuck up in the corner, but usually if you pull on it a little bit, then you'll see this, then you can pull it down. And so now I can nest it anywhere I want. Maybe I want to nest it under brushes over here or next to brushes in this section. However, I can do that by putting it up there, but at a future point in time, if I don't update this studio or I don't update these panel presets, then at some point in time, I might actually come up here, I may revert, and then we see it goes away. Now I could update the studio so it's part of the base settings of the studio, or I could create a panel preset. So let me show you how panel presets work. So let me just go ahead and go right now under Window, and if I go down to Panels, we'll see that anytime you have presets, those presets are going to show up here. So 1, 2, 3, these are all presets I have, and presets exist within whatever studio you're in. So I could switch over to the Layout Studio, and if again went under Window Panels, this time we're not going to see those presets up here because I don't have any currently. Now I could add some, but let's go back and add another one to this Greg Photo Editing. So here we are in Greg Photo Editing. I'm going to turn on that panel that we want to turn on. So I'm going to come up here and go Window, Canva. Let's find this Brand Kits. Let's turn it on. We're going to make sure we can get it to come down. Remember, it gets stuck up there sometimes, so we can use that little trick by tugging on it a little bit. Now we can grab it. We can bring it over here. I'm going to nest it right next to the brushes. I like it over here. And if I like it in this position, I always want to have it within this Greg Photo Editing or the ability to turn on quickly, I can add a preset. So now what I'm going to do is come under that Window Panels. Let's do a new panel. So we're going to come in here under Add Preset. And under this Add Preset, I'm going to just call this one Canva Brand Kit. And we'll go ahead and click OK. And so now if I were even to revert this back, so I could click on this studio, revert this back to the base level of the studio, it's not going to be there, but all I have to do to turn it back on is go under Window Panels. Let's find this Canva Brand Kit, and there it is. It brings it back. So I just want you to understand there are ways to manage your workspace in here, so depending on the project you're working on, you can get all the panels you want to have open very quickly. But enough about that. Let's see now how this Canva Brand Kits integration works here in Affinity. So I'll go back to my Layout Studio. So imagine you're working on a document like this, so I can see all my pages by coming over here. Here are all my different pages, so I can be working on any of these pages. And now that I have that Canva Brand Kit option, I can very quickly go under here and I can access things like my colors, my fonts. So maybe I want to use one of the brand colors for the title here, so I can go ahead and very quickly for that rectangle, pull any of my brand colors directly from those palettes that I have in my brand kit in Canva. Same for other assets as well, and things like fonts as well. So let me come down here under the font section, and let me make sure first I'm on the correct studio. So this is my Just Desserts studio that I'm using for this example. So again, down here, if I want to adjust the colors, it's pulling all those palettes from that brand kit, so I can choose anything I want. It also has my different fonts and text styles. So if I want to come in here, I want to change this font here, I can very quickly go in here and pull my fonts directly from this brand kit here, pulling in the different styles. So just very quickly, it allows you to make use of all those brand options that you have set up in Canva, so really can keep things on track. Same thing for all your other assets too. So I have logos in here. So let's imagine that as I'm setting this up, here are my different pages. Maybe I want to have some sort of footer along each of these pages, and I want to make use of some of my brand assets, like my brand logo, maybe a brand color as I do that. So I could come up here to Master Pages. Now, if you're not familiar with the Master Pages, I do have a whole nother tutorial all about using the Layout Studio here in Affinity and things like master pages, which can be super helpful. So I linked that up above. You can check that out at your convenience if you need a refresher. But just to show you how it would work in an example like this, I'm going to come up here. I'm going to create a new master page. So we'll go ahead and click OK. And then on this master page, I'm going to go ahead and set something up that I'm going to want to use on multiple pages here. So I'll come in here and I'll just do something simple like grab a rectangle. So let's grab this and place it right here at the bottom. I might have a text element or two in here. So maybe I'll drag something out here over here. And maybe this is going to be the title of my ebook or whatever it is I'm creating. I also might want a logo over here, so let me go ahead and grab a logo as well. And again, this is where I can come right into that brand kit, pull whichever logo I want. So I could click on this one here. If you just click on it, it's actually going to open it in a new file, which is what I did there by mistake. So let me go ahead and close that out. If you actually want to pull it over here into design, just click and drag. So left click and drag. Now I'm dragging a copy over. Can still resize it, so let's resize it, maybe position it right here so it snaps to the center, something like that. And then I might go ahead and add a page number over here, but I think I want this page number to sit on another rectangle element, so I might just create a square here, drag out something like this. I want this to be a different color, so again, go into under my brand colors, maybe grab that color right there, bring it down, place that sort of like right there, and then this is where I'm going to stick my page number. And Affinity does have the ability to add in auto page numbering. So I'm going to go ahead and do that by dragging out a text element right here. So I'll drag out a text element on screen. And then what I'm going to do is come up here. You have to do this. And again, I go over all this in that layout video tutorial I mentioned a little while ago, which I linked above, but I can also link down in the description for this video. So what I'm going to do now is come under this text option. I'll come down to insert, and I want to find fields, and I want to find page number, and I'm going to stick that in there. And then once again, you can come in here, and if you wanted to stylize this using your different brand fonts or whatever, you could choose whatever one you want. So we'll just leave it as bold there. And then I'll take this and I'll move this down right here. And this page numbering element is going to mean any pages where I apply this master page, it's going to calculate the correct page number. Now again, I know Canva has components now, a new feature they just came out with that works sort of like smart objects. It also has the ability to do auto page numbering, sort of, but not perfect. But I do really recommend Affinity if you get into this longer form content, because there's just more options, and this master page option, which again I talk about a lot in the tutorial. So I've come to pages on their master pages here, this master page option, very, very helpful. So I still think Affinity is going to make some sense if you're a Canva user when you get into those more advanced projects. There's just certain things that Canva is not going to be great at, but now that we have Affinity as a free program, most of the tools in here are free. I know there are some Canva AI tools, you need that Pro Canva subscription, but a lot of free stuff in here and a lot of just more advanced features than you have in Canva alone. So I really do think Affinity is a nice complement for Canva users just looking for a little bit more in terms of the options they have. Now I won't make you watch me build out this whole recipe book, but let me just show you real quick how you would apply this master page to other pages in the design. And then we'll also look about how syncing happens automatically and how also you can sync items from here back to your Canva kit, so it does work both ways. So first, let me just take this master page here. So if I wanted to apply it to these 3 pages of the design here, I could just click on any one of them, then shift click down to the other one, right click, I'm going to go ahead and choose apply master, and then I can apply that to these specified pages. And again, these settings I talk about all these in that other video. So go ahead and click OK, and then we'll see that yes, I do have that applied to these different pages here. So very cool. So we can see how it's helpful in this workflow to have access to your brand kit, to all those options. Now, the brand kit is going to update automatically here when I make changes within Canva and add other items to that brand kit. So let me just pull Canva open again real quick. I will even just do a quick split screen of sorts here so we can see how quickly things are going to update between these 2 programs if we do make changes. So we have just desserts here, and we have the same brand kit open here in Affinity. So right now we can see this color palette here only has these 3 colors. Here it is right here. But if I were to come in here and add this green, come in here and add something like that blue or purple here, go ahead and click off that. Make sure it's saved. I think it's going to save automatically there. But now if I just come over here under this brand kits panel and I just go under here and choose this refresh option, then we're going to see that those 2 colors, boom, they do pop up right away. So we have this syncing that'll happen almost automatically. If you do make a change, you just need to come up here and use this refresh option. Now, as one final thing, I wanted to show you how you can also make some assets here in Affinity sync back to your Canva brand kit if you wish. So if I wanted to take this image right here, and let's say that's not something that's part of my Canva brand kit, but maybe I'm like, hey, I want this to be part of my brand kit because I want to use that in Canva or wherever, I could do that. Now, if I drag this directly to this assets panel, it's not going to work if it's on this all category. But if I go to the category where it's going to fit, like photos, now if I drag this, we'll bring it right over top of here until we see this blue outline. Then I'll release it, and when I do, all it does is it takes me to the export dialog here, but it's exporting it specifically to that Canva brand kit. So I come in here, choose whatever settings I want, go ahead and click export. It's going to take a second uploading to Canva, finalizing, and then once I do that, I should be able to come back over here into Canva. Now, if Canva was open at the same time, I might want to just hit this refresh option, but once I hit that refresh option, I should be able to go under brand. Again, we're going to move over to the assets section here, so all assets, or specifically photos is where we uploaded it. And then if we look in here, there it is right there. So we were able to just drag it up here, add it to our assets, and it did sync over to my Canva brand kit. So this is a nice new integration between Canva and Affinity. Hopefully we get more integrations like this in the future. And if you like videos like this, feel free to subscribe to this channel. Thanks again for watching. I'll see you soon.
Everything I do, so instinctive and so passionate. Every word I move, so descriptive like an adjective. I got a vendetta against people who patented being negative when you should be getting after it. I got facts over tracks, this and that. Spitting slow, spitting fast. I could roast, I could gas. Think I'm okay at last, but I don't know if that can erase all the past.